1951, there was no organized political party. The first organized political party was formed in 1951 by Reverend J.C. Fay, called the Democratic Party. It was followed the same year by I.M. Gawa Jahumpa's party called the Muslim Congress Party. And then P.S. Njai, who was a member of the Democratic Party, but he contested the 1951 election, the legislative election, and was defeated. And then he formed his own party called the United Party. But by 1954, United Party had weighed all the two previous parties because of the personality leadership of P.S. Njai. And then 1959, the Protectorate peoples came together and formed a society called the Protectorate People's Society. But the Chief Conference in Basset, they transformed that society into a political party. And 1960 became a very important year because the Protectorate people were disenfranchised all along. The legislative elections are only held at the colony, which was Batos and the Combo St. Mary area. So when the Protectorate, the mass of the Protectorate people were enfranchised in 1960, the Protectorate People's Party was able to mobilize the Protectorate, and that was why they were able to sweep the polls in the 1960 elections. And 1962 elections, they were also able to pull a lot of candidates that won the elections in the various parts of the Protectorate. But the most important part of it was the 1964 Protectorate, 64 Constitutional Conference that was held in London. Now, this conference, the government delegation, of course, the Prime Minister was the then Prime Minister was Jawara. He headed the government delegation. P.S. Njai headed the delegation of the opposition. So they were hosted by the Colonial Secretary. That was Secretary of State for the Colonies, Duncan Sandy, was their host. And the meeting, more or less, was to constitute an independent constitution for the Gambia. And also to select a date for the attainment of independence. And to discuss about constitutional boundary, the constituency boundaries. And also they discussed about the relationship between Gambia and Senegal, since Gambia was about to have her independence. And also they discussed about the date and have an agreement that the date chosen for the attainment of independence shall be on the 18th of February 1965. This was a landslide achievement in the conference in London in 22nd July 1964. And in 1965, at the midnight of 17th February 1965, the Union Jack, because that was our flag then. We are under the colony of Britain. So our flag is the British flag. That's the Union Jack. It was lowered, and the newly constituted Gambian sovereign flag, red, blue, green, and the white, of course, in the middle, was hoisted up. And Gambia, at midnight, became an independent state. But it was an independent state, but it did not have its republican status. Therefore, the Queen continued to be the head of state, and the Prime Minister became the head of government. And in November 1965, that very year, the PPP wanted to test its popularity because now we have attained the independence. They also wanted to go in for republican status. And in November 1965, there was the referendum for a republican status, but they did not have their way. The people, the majority of the people did not vote for the republican status. So the 1966 election, the PPP was able to sweep the polls again. But the saddest part of our history, as far as the politics is concerned, in the late 1960s and early 70s, was that most of the opposition bigwig cross-carpeted to the PPP. Some of them cross-carpeted with their parliamentary seats. That was why there was almost a dead end of politics in the late 1960s and early 1970s. But the United Party was there as the main opposition party. That's why they contested bitterly in 1970 when the PPP tried for the second time to go in for the Republican status. And they succeeded this time round, and the president, who was then the prime minister, took over as the executive president, and now the Queen became no longer the head of state. So the president became the head of state and head of government in 1970 when we have our Republican status. Specifically, this was on the 24th of April, 1970.
Coming towards the build-up of independence, know that you did mention several parties who actually were actively participated in the country, in the governing of the country. But who were key individuals who were instrumental in pushing the independence agenda forward?
It was the Protectorate People's Party, who at that time changed their name to Progressive People's Party, because of they were willing to put on board the colony people. Because when you say protectorate people, it means the party is only for protectorate. But as time goes on, when the people in the colony joined the party, obviously it was prudent for them to change the name from Protectorate People's Party to Progressive People's Party. The prime minister, of course, Jawara was the prime minister, and assisted by lieutenants like Sirfu Sise, Lamin Bolamboj, Sirfu Diba, and even J.C. Fai, because he joined the PPP. At one time, he and Gaba Jahumpa formed the Democratic Congress Alliance in order to offset the popularity of both PPP and the UP. But unfortunately for them, both Gaba Jahumpa and J.C. Fai were defeated in both 1960 and 61 election. So therefore, when their party was splitted, Gaba Jahumpa joined forces with UP, because he formed the Gambia Congress Party. He joined forces with UP, while J.C. Fai joined forces with the PPP. But they were all at the conference in London, the Constitutional Conference in London in 1964. Gaba Jahumpa was there, the Reverend J.C. Fai was there, I am Gaba Jahumpa was there, Cham Juf was also there, the head of the opposition was also there, that is Perinjai. He was the head of the opposition, but he was not in for independence. He wanted the continuous British rule, because he said Gambia was not ready for self-rule. That's why he also went all out to campaign against the referendum, both referendums, and the 1965 referendum and the 1970 referendum. He campaigned for all of them not to go through. But fortunately for him, 1965 he succeeded, but 1970 he did not succeed in that the country went into republic.
Was he right when he said the Gambia was not ready to rule itself?
Well, he was not right. He was not right, because it was not only him. Even the British were skeptical. The British, that's why it was discussed at the conference in 1964 that Gambia should make so that they try and have an affiliation with Senegal. But the politicians then were not keen in going to that. So the British, together with some Western powers, encouraged the United Nations to set up a commission. That commission is going to look at all the modalities that can make it possible for Gambia to have an association with Senegal. Because they said the size of the Gambia, economically, politically, will not be able to make it. They have to join forces with a powerful nation, particularly a powerful neighbor like Senegal. But their recommendation, of course, of the commission was to have an association with Senegal. But the politicians still insisted that they will have their own way. They will not have any association. Of course, there will be that collaboration as neighbors, that collaboration as cultural, social partners. But politically, there will be not that unification between Gambia and Senegal, Gambia will go as a sovereign state. And they have done a lot, particularly the civil service of the force.